Welcome back to our channel where we provide updates and undisclosed narratives on Catherine, Princess of Wales and her royal family. We provide you with the exciting news, shocking Charles steps down. Camilla exiled. After William exposes secret plot. In an extraordinary action that has reverberated across the Commonwealth and engaged a worldwide audience, King Charles III has abdicated the British throne, claiming a critical health crisis and a significant betrayal from inside the monarchy. In a remarkable consequence of his resignation, the king has revoked all royal titles and rights from Queen Camilla, thereby excluding her from public life. The throne has been transferred to his oldest son, who was officially declared King William V, in a formal ceremony signifying the start of a new and uncertain epoch for the House of Windsor. This narrative details a week of royal intrigue, clandestine inquiries, and poignant choices that resulted in the most significant reorganization of the British monarchy in over a century. The decree that stopped the world. The atmosphere in Buckingham Palace's enormous ballroom was oppressively dense, like being enveloped in lead. The crimson velvet drapes and the gilded embellishments, often emblems of lasting grandeur, seemed to absorb every sound, creating an uncomfortable, almost ominous quiet. In this revered location, King Charles III, successor to a millennium of history, was poised to make a declaration that would not only reverberate across the kingdom, but also transform the essence of the contemporary monarchy. King Charles, who had gained the throne after a prolonged period of anticipation, approached a platform crafted from old wood. His manner, usually haughty and dignified, now exhibited a palpable fatigue that the immaculate formality of his ceremonial attire could not obscure. The public had been aware for months of the king's covert fight with illness, a conflict conveyed via meticulously crafted declarations of guarded hope. However, behind the royal confines, a more urgent conflict had been unfolding, one that had now intensified, necessitating an unimaginable sacrifice. The intense illumination from high-powered lighting specifically erected for this emergency broadcast highlighted the deep creases on his face. He started speaking, his voice subdued and measured, narrating his struggle with his health. His remarks were meticulously selected, harmonizing the fragility of a man with the unwavering obligation of a monarch. With profound sorrow, he said, his voice resonating with a subtle quaver. "I must speak to you today on an issue of personal health and national significance. I have been receiving therapy for a kind of cancer. During this time, I have been sustained by your prayers and well wishes, for which I am very thankful. My medical staff has now indicated that the healing process would be lengthier and more challenging than first expected, necessitating my whole focus." The press corps, convened on little notice, seemed to collectively suspend their breath. The rarity of the occurrence was underscored by the solemnity in the king's tone, indicating anything beyond a mere health report. "A monarch's first obligation is to the nation," Charles said, his eyes scanning the cameras. "It is an obligation that requires fortitude, perseverance, and a steadfast attention to the concerns of the populace. Continuing in my position while confronting a substantial personal health crisis would be detrimental to the Crown and the United Kingdom. Consequently, after a time of deep contemplation, I have reached the difficult but essential choice to relinquish the throne." A profound quiet was followed by a rapid flurry of camera shutter clicks that permeated the room. Abdication, a term that has been almost forbidden in royal discourse since Edward VIII's controversial resignation in 1936. Cameras moved rapidly, documenting the momentous occasion of a king willingly relinquishing authority. However, it was hardly the ultimate surprise. As Charles designated his successor, his tone became resolute. "The crown will be bestowed on my esteemed son, William, Prince of Wales, in whom I possess unwavering trust about his judgment, honesty, and commitment to duty. He will lead the monarchy into its next chapter with the courage and vision our country deserves." His stare became frigid, fixating on the wings of the stage where Queen Camilla was positioned. Adorned in an emerald green gown, she had until that moment maintained the serene demeanor cultivated during decades of unwavering scrutiny in the limelight. She had foreseen this moment, William's ascension with herself, portrayed as the mournful but dignified Queen Dowager, a resolute bastion of support. Subsequently, Charles spoke once more, his utterances imbued with a terrifying finality that pierced the astonished quiet. From this point forward, the king's voice resonated deep, deliberate, and so frigid, it seemed to make the very stones of the castle quiver. Camilla Parker Bowles is no longer the Queen of the United Kingdom. It is my ultimate edict as sovereign that she be divested of all royal titles, styles, and privileges conferred upon her by the crown. The room seemed to sway as if impacted by lightning. Not a single breath was disturbed. Even Prince William, renowned for his steadfast demeanor, trembled momentarily, a brief frown disrupting his stern facade before he quickly restored it. Catherine, the Princess of Wales, stood behind him still as a marble statue, her gaze locked on King Charles, while her firmly clutched fists revealed her inner struggle. The articulated rationale was a grave allegation, proof of a plot to falsify the king's medical records, with the aim of illegitimately altering the line of succession and usurping control of royal matters. At that moment, the meticulously crafted facade of tranquility that Camilla had maintained for years disintegrated. Her eyes widened not in terror, but in utter surprise at this unexpected counterstrike. She believed she had accounted for everything, all except this, a conclusive, definitive action from the spouse she thought she had securely under her control. The press conference concluded in disarray. Reporters hurriedly contacted sources and submitted articles disregarding all etiquette. The royal family left promptly devoid of any words or gestures of solace. William and Kate departed with the haste of individuals, escaping a catastrophe, their stillness echoing like thunder. Within the palace, even the most reticent attendants and aides could not suppress their murmurs. The hallways and private dining areas were abuzz with muted conjecture. Queen Camilla's royal career ended quickly and humiliatingly as she was divested of all her titles within minutes before the global media. Outside the royal walls, London was in turmoil. The British media, unreserved in its pursuit of royal controversies, reacted strongly. Headlines such as "King abdicates," "Queen banished," and "The betrayal that broke the crown" prevailed on digital billboards. Newspapers chronicled Camilla's decline from her recent induction into the esteemed Order of the Garter to the title of Queen she had only just acquired. Public opinion varied significantly. One faction lauded Charles's actions as an essential re-establishment of justice, a monarch maintaining integrity amidst personal treachery. Others wondered whether this was a merciless power maneuver with Camilla, serving as the ideal scapegoat for a group led by Prince William. The discourse proliferated across all media platforms, transforming the royal scandal into a worldwide fixation. In the midst of the turmoil, Charles withdrew to his own chambers. He had no need to peruse the headlines. He just needed a glimpse of William's visage and the isolation of his own reflection to ascertain that he had acted correctly. He had confronted illness, and now he contended with another more insidious affliction, ambition disguised as love. His attention wandered to a window where the last rays of dusk were diminishing. The king served as an agent of justice, although below this front was the profound anguish of a betrayed spouse. What transpired in the week before this momentous decree? What mysteries unfolded in the private rooms of the king and the lady he once esteemed above all others? 7 days prior. The murmur at Sandringham time reverts to 1 week before, on an early autumn evening at Sandringham House. The royal hideaway, desired for its tranquil serenity, was enveloped in a soft obscurity. It was the secret anniversary of Charles and Camilla's nuptials, a day Charles resolved to commemorate despite the ongoing discomfort of his illness. He had personally chosen a traditional brooch, an exquisite item contained inside a deep green velvet box, and planned to give it to Camilla himself. She was the lady for whom he had battled throughout his life, the one he felt would serve as his unwavering support throughout this difficult period. He traversed the lengthy hallway, his footsteps muted across the elaborate Persian carpeting. The illumination from the little candle he carried projected flickering shadows across the family pictures, briefly highlighting their noble visages. However, Charles disregarded the significance of history this evening. He was only a husband in pursuit of an intimate moment with his wife. As he approached Camilla's private quarters, her voice halted him. It emanated through the partially open wood door. Camilla's tone, usually low and somewhat husky, suddenly exhibited a sharpness and an unyielding determination that Charles had never before encountered. She was conversing on the telephone. Protocol necessitated a knock, but a chilling foreboding and indelible discomfort immobilized him. "I do not want for it to seem critical." Harlan Camilla's voice emerged composed and authoritative. "I want it to convey a greater degree of criticism than it really possesses. Do you comprehend simply include the appropriate terminology? Profound fatigue, prolonged recuperation necessary. This will sufficiently persuade the council that the king need a lengthy, perhaps permanent convalescence." A chilling sensation coursed down Charles's spine. Dr. Harlan was his esteemed physician whom he regarded as a confidant. That acquaintance was now being directed by Camilla to fabricate his medical reports. His grip on the velvet box intensified, rendering his knuckles pale. He remained still no longer King Charles, but a man confronting a harsh reality. Upon concluding the conversation, Camilla promptly phoned another number after a little intermission. Her tone transformed, now imbued with a nuanced exhilaration, reminiscent of a champion approaching their reward. Satisfactory. "We will continue as intended," she said. "I want you to promptly prepare the documentation for personnel modifications inside the Royal Committee. We must not allow such vacillating individuals to obstruct our progress. They would acquiesce to anything if it is deemed for the welfare of the crown." She said the last term laced with subtle derision. "Charles's health necessitates his rest. During that period, I will need to form a provisional regency council to maintain stability." Every phrase was a keen dagger piercing Charles's heart. This was not only an act of faking his health state, it was a methodically orchestrated scheme to usurp his authority during his most vulnerable moment. Queen Camilla was poised to assert dominance over the court, shrouded in the pretense of compassion and affection. Charles retreated silently. The anniversary present fell from his grasp, the plush velvet box descending silently onto the carpeting. However, to him, it shattered like glass breaking. His eyes, already fatigued from sickness, were further burdened by the pain of treachery. He had observed ambition in the eyes of several politicians and courtiers, although he had never envisioned it residing inside his partner's heart. Camilla aspired not just to be queen, she sought to be a ruler without a throne, orchestrating every maneuver inside the palace. He pivoted, withdrawing along the passage as quietly as he had arrived. The forsaken green velvet box epitomized a betrayal of sincerity. King Charles returned to his quarters, his body burdened. He was no longer only a sick man requiring recuperation, but a monarch, confronted, betrayed, and now poised for conflict. The Secret Inquiry. A prince, a princess, and a monarch's determination. Following the distressing evening at Sandringham King, Charles has disappeared from the public eye, with the palace publicly attributing this to a need for intensive rest. However, underneath this facade of tranquility resides not the weakness of an ailing individual, but the acute awareness of a sovereign discreetly readying for confrontation. He was aware that each of his actions was under surveillance, presumably by personnel loyal to Camilla. He acted with utmost prudence, a talent refined by his tenure in the Royal Navy, and by seeing his mother, Queen Elizabeth II, adeptly manage her reign with remarkable finesse. His first action was to get incontrovertible evidence. By collaborating with a select group of long-tenured, unequivocally loyal personnel, he obtained access to the palace's medical records. He discovered 2 sets of paperwork bearing his name, both dated from his last checkup. The 2 documents, both bearing the official seal of his personal physician, Dr. Harlan, presented markedly different narratives. The first report, clandestinely acquired from a devoted nurse, indicated that Charles's health was stable, necessitating daily observation, but not posing a life-threatening risk. The second version, sent to the Privy Council and key advisors, depicted a far more dire scenario: severe deterioration, nervous exhaustion, and necessitating extended intervention and rest. This inconsistency not only indicated deception, but also served as a plan for a palace revolution. As Charles delved into history, Camilla advanced her objectives. She executed meticulously planned public appearances, her expression a facade of spousal worry, underscoring the need for provisional leadership to maintain the monarchy's stability. In private, she convened important officials, discreetly insinuating that Charles was unable to lead. She offered assurances of elevated posts, increased budgets, and unrestrained power to individuals who would support her initiative to form a regency council under her authority. Her plot started to spread, creating a perilous division inside the palace. However, destiny has a tendency to reveal realities from unforeseen sources. Catherine, the Princess of Wales, renowned for her fastidiousness and discreet attention, encountered an abnormality. During the examination of internal palace communication logs, a standard aspect of her office's administrative supervision, she saw a dubious sequence of encrypted messages sent between Camilla and Dr. Harland. The emails were sent at unusual hours and included ambiguous cryptic language, seemingly disconnected from healthcare, including schedules arrangements and a file attachment ominously labeled Plan B. Kate, who had always shown profound public deference to Camilla, recognized that something was really wrong. Her senses, honed by years of maneuvering through the intricate dynamics of the royal family, indicated that this situation was beyond the typical palace murmurs. She promptly conveyed her findings to her husband, Prince William. William was in his office at Kensington Palace, contending with the simultaneous stresses of his father's sickness and the mental preparation for his impending duty as king. Upon reviewing the information Kate supplied, his demeanor became stern. William always preserved a cordial but not affectionate connection with his stepmother, acknowledging her as the one who had given joy to his father. However, the data that Kate had discovered depicted a markedly contrasting portrayal of that dedication. His esteem deteriorated, replaced by deep disappointment and a steadfast determination to safeguard his father and the crown. He promptly created a safe off-network communication route with his father. The two guys and Kate constituted a clandestine trio. They recognized the need for more than just questionable emails. They required definitive evidence. William and Kate used their own reliable staff of digital security specialists, functioning independently of the official royal IT framework. Their objective was to ascertain the contents of Plan B and decode the messages. Dr. Harland was recognized as the vulnerable element. A guy with an unblemished background, he had evidently been coerced or incentivized. Through thorough investigation of server data and telephone records, they discovered a concealed asset, a cloud-stored, automatically recorded phone conversation between Camilla and Harland. As William listened to the tape, his emotions surged, a tumultuous blend of rage and dread. Camilla's voice, composed and unrepentant, directed Harland on how to amplify the king's vital signs, using ominous language in the diagnosis to guarantee that Charles would be excluded from all royal responsibilities. The tape constituted irrefutable evidence. William and Kate handed it along with the two contradictory medical findings to Charles at a clandestine meeting at Windsor Castle. The elderly king grasped the recorder, his unsteady fingertips grazing the play button, as he heard his wife's voice depict him as a mere pawn in her power struggle. The anguish was tangible, stemming not only from the Queen's treachery, but also from the disloyalty of the lady in whom he had invested his steadfast confidence. Nevertheless, in spite of his anguish, Charles preserved the demeanor of a sovereign. He determined to provide Camilla one more opportunity to confess, not from weakness, but as a last ethical evaluation, a desperate endeavor to ascertain whether any vestige of the woman he loved remained. The intimate chat occurred in a little drawing room, the quiet between them oppressive. Camilla arrived with cultivated assurance despite seeing Charles's aloofness. She presented a subtle grin seeking to elicit his compassion and fondness. Charles failed to offer the proof. Instead, he gazed straight into her eyes, his expression laden with disappointment. He inquired delicately about her apprehensions over his health and her recent interactions with Harland. Camilla skillfully diverted. She said that it was only a misunderstanding stemming from her excessive anxiety. She even deflected responsibility, claiming that jealous advisors had disseminated falsehoods to incite dissension. Her audacious refusal crushed the last glimmer of hope in Charles's heart. He recognized the absence of remorse, only assessment. As Camilla departed, still donning the guise of a wounded spouse, Charles recognized the need for taking action. Personal suffering could not surpass his obligation. He was unable to bequeath a compromised monarchy to William. He promptly summoned his private secretary and reached his last excruciating choice. He would relinquish his position. He would expose the scheme. He would guarantee that justice was administered honestly and publicly. He positioned himself at his venerable desk and with a composed hand started signing the new will and the abdication decree. Every stroke of the pen seemed burdensome. In addition to the legal documentation, he composed a last handwritten letter to Camilla, a succinct, very emotional goodbye. He secured it into an inconspicuous envelope. In the profound stillness of the night, King Charles III relinquished his crown, making the ultimate sacrifice to preserve the integrity of the institution he was destined to govern. Room 1844. The verdict. The next morning, an urgent secret conference was held in room 1844 of Buckingham Palace, a room designated for the monarchy's most significant choices. Before King Charles was the Privy Council, including top advisors, long-serving courtiers, and importantly Queen Camilla. The mood was oppressive. Charles occupied the head of the table, his fatigued physique contrasting with his eyes which burned with unwavering determination. William and Kate sat next to one another, their stillness reflecting their shared resolve. Camilla arrived maintaining an aura of cultivated composure. She saw this meeting as a mere formality to declare Charles's prolonged absence, thus facilitating her regency. Her eyes traversed the room, seeking the affirming looks of counselors who had vowed their allegiance. She discovered none. King Charles began without introduction. His voice, subdued and measured, exhibited no hint of personal emotion as he detailed the chronology of events. He started by placing the two collections of medical documents on the table. A wave of discomfort permeated the room. Subsequently, Charles gestured. William advanced and engaged a compact recording apparatus. Camilla's voice, frigid and penetrating, resonated around the room, directing Dr. Harland to fabricate medical reports and implement personnel alterations. The sound constituted a judgment in its own right. Camilla became immobile. All the confidence she had earned over decades disintegrated. She gazed at the recorder. Her eyes widened in alarm. She had been too complacent, overly certain in the confidentiality of her network. She struggled to articulate a word, a denial, although her throat seemed constricted. The advisors who had supported her idea averted their eyes from the king. They saw they had wagered on the incorrect side. Charles completed his presentation by laying the new will and abdication decree on the table. He officially declared the revocation of all royal titles and privileges from Camilla. She would cease to be queen, no longer a senior member of the royal family. All honors she had would be rescinded. It was the most severe penalty a royal could experience short of incarceration. Subsequently, Charles proclaimed his resignation and the prompt succession of the crown to Prince William. While the official procedures were recited, Camilla remained seated and immobile. She exhibited no opposition. Her quaking hands grasped a silk handkerchief, knuckles blanching. Her gaze met Charles's, imbued not with contrition, but with the acrimony of a vanquished opponent. Upon the conclusion of the proceedings, William approached his father. He inclined his head slightly, a show of deep respect. An unspoken promise was exchanged between them. He then directed a brief icy gaze toward Camilla, now a diminished presence in the room's shadows. Justice was achieved, although at the expense of a divided family. A novel epoch. A singular exile. Subsequently, the United Kingdom focused on the Accession Council and the official declaration event. Prince William, now King William V, stood on the austere balcony of St. James's Palace, his demeanor exuding the fortitude and composure requisite of a new sovereign. Catherine, now queen consort, stood steadfast behind him, her gaze mirroring unyielding faith in her spouse. The event proceeded with remarkable solemnity, although underlying its magnificence flowed a strong current of popular support. The throng did not only applaud a youthful monarch, they proclaimed the advent of a renewed period of integrity. The media, previously engrossed in the controversy, suddenly published articles lauding King Charles's bravery and William's resilience. The event, however traumatic, had purified the monarchy, dissipating clouds of mistrust. Amidst the resounding celebrations around the city, another occurrence unfolded in near-complete quiet. Camilla, now officially designated as Camilla Parker Bowles, was instructed to vacate Buckingham Palace. No motorcade was there to greet her. No personnel extended farewells. Allowed to carry just a few personal things, she traversed the hallways where she had previously experienced her greatest empowerment. As an unmarked vehicle went silently via a rear entrance, she refrained from looking back. Her face, formerly radiant with pride, now exhibited a profound emptiness tinged with bitterness. Her new abode was a remote mansion in the countryside, characterized by total seclusion, far from public scrutiny, a solitary existence more burdensome than any fetter. Simultaneously, King Charles made preparations to retreat from public life. He resided on a secluded estate, concentrating on his recuperation and enjoying the quiet he urgently needed. In his leisure, he started writing a personal book, documenting the last chaotic phase of his reign. He elaborated on his odyssey from uncovering the treachery to the clandestine inquiry and the ultimate verdict. In the latter sections of the book, he contemplated destiny and decision-making. He reviewed the unsent letter he had written for Camilla, recognizing that no words could adequately convey the depth of his disappointment. In the last words he inscribed with a firm hand, "I have discovered that love may obscure reason for an extended period. Justice serves as a clear illumination. It necessitates unequivocal clarity, even if such clarity obliterates that which one cherishes most. Ultimately, I did not behave as a spouse, but as a sovereign. A king's obligation lies not with his personal desires, but with the crown and the future generations destined to inherit it." As Charles concluded the narrative, a somber chime echoed in the distance, the resounding toll of the palace bells heralding another ceremonial event. It was the sound of perpetuity, of rejuvenation. A new monarchy began, characterized by the expulsion of power's shadows, with a legacy of honesty to be maintained by his successor. Upon reviewing the narrative, do you see King Charles's choice to abdicate and reveal the truth as a manifestation of a sovereign prioritizing duty above sentiment, or as a personal act of retribution against his wife's treachery? We invite you to express your opinions in the comments area. Kindly remember to like, share, and subscribe for further comprehensive reports. Please click the subsequent video shown on your screen for our follow-up analysis. An insider source has reported that King Charles has taken decisive action against Camilla following Prince William's investigation into her clandestine life, which revealed a shocking betrayal during King Charles's cancer treatment last year. The startling revelation from Prince William's investigation astonished Charles and the royal family. In this video, we shall explore King Charles's actions concerning Camilla. Thank you for watching the video. Please let us know your thoughts, and goodbye for now.